Have you ever walked into a room and noticed people glance at you, but then look away? Or perhaps family members visit less often, conversations feel shorter, or smiles don't come as easily as they used to. You may tell yourself they're just busy, or that's how things go when you get older. But what if the truth is something much quieter and much harder to see? As we age, we begin to settle into routines. Some of them bring comfort and peace. Others, however, can quietly grow into habits that change how others see us and how they feel around us. Not because we're doing anything cruel or intentional, but because we've stopped noticing the impact we have. People rarely say anything. They don't want to offend you. They respect you. They love you. But their silence doesn't mean they aren't affected. Sometimes it's the things no one tells us, the unspoken discomforts that shape the way others behave. We may not realize it, but the little things we do every day can slowly build distance between us and the people we care about most. And that's where this video begins. Not with judgment, not with shame, but with reflection, a quiet mirror held up in kindness. Today we'll look at 12 subtle habits that tend to appear in older age. These aren't about looking younger or trying to impress anyone. They're about how to keep your presence strong, your relationships warm, and your dignity fully intact, no matter how many candles are on the cake. If you've ever felt like people treat you differently now, if you want to make sure your presence is still one of strength, grace, and respect, then stay with me. Because recognizing these habits and gently choosing better ones might be the key to feeling more seen, more connected, and more valued than ever. Aging is not a decline, it is an evolution, a deepening of perspective, of insight, and of the quiet strength that comes from a life fully lived. But here's the truth many of us don't hear often enough. Growing older does not automatically mean growing wiser in every area. Some habits, once harmless or even charming, can turn into blind spots. And without realizing it, we may begin to erode the very dignity we worked a lifetime to build. This video is not about how others treat you, it is about how you show up, and how the way you carry yourself can invite deeper respect or create silent distance. Small daily actions speak volumes. They shape how people respond to you. They determine whether others lean in with warmth or quietly pull away. And make no mistake, your presence still matters. Not just to your family, but to your friends, your community, and even to strangers passing by. Your energy influences rooms. Your words carry weight. Your habits create ripples. So today, we aren't chasing perfection, we're reaching for clarity. We're exploring how to remain someone others trust, admire, and want to be around, even as the years pass. These 12 habits are not accusations. They are gentle signals, like a friend whispering, maybe it's time to look at this differently. Because aging well isn't just about health. It's about how we hold ourselves, how we make people feel, and whether we're still growing, not just surviving. This is your time to become even more of who you truly are. Not smaller, not invisible, but fuller, wiser, more present than ever. Let's explore the first habit together. One of the first signs people quietly notice, but rarely say out loud, is a slip in personal hygiene. This doesn't mean anyone expects you to dress like a movie star or smell like a perfume ad. But there's a difference between comfort and carelessness. And over time, that line can blur without you even realizing it. Maybe you've worn the same sweater for 3 days in a row. Maybe you skip brushing your hair because you're not going anywhere important, or perhaps your fingernails grow out a bit longer than usual, or there's a faint odor that wasn't there before. Small things, easy to overlook. But people notice, and the truth is, hygiene isn't just about being clean, it's about sending a message to yourself and to those around you. When someone sees that you take the time to look after yourself, it tells them something powerful. It says, I still respect myself, I still care how I show up in this world. That message invites warmth, trust, and even admiration. But when hygiene slips, the opposite message is sent. Without words, it says, I've given up a little, and others react even if they don't realize it. They may keep a bit more physical distance. They might shorten conversations or stop initiating contact altogether, not because they don't care, but because something feels off and they don't know how to name it. This is especially true with younger family members. A grandchild may feel uncomfortable but doesn't know how to bring it up. An adult child may struggle to say something without causing hurt, so instead they pull away, quietly, slowly, without confrontation. The good news is this is one of the easiest habits to fix. A fresh shirt, clean nails, and combed hair can shift how others treat you almost instantly. It's not about appearances. It's about energy. And people respond to energy before they respond to anything else. Taking care of yourself isn't vanity, it's dignity. It says, I'm still here. I still matter. And that message echoes far beyond the mirror. With age comes freedom, and the freedom to say what we think, to speak more boldly, to share the truth as we see it. And for many older adults, that feels like a well-earned right. After all, you've lived through decades of experience. Why not speak your mind? But here's where that freedom can quietly turn into a barrier. Over time, the inner voice that used to say, maybe don't say that out loud, can grow quiet. And suddenly what once was filtered through empathy now comes out as raw opinion. Maybe it's a comment on someone's appearance, or a sharp remark about how someone is raising their kids, or a joke that a few decades ago might have earned a laugh, but now only brings silence. You might brush it off by saying, I'm just being honest, or people are too sensitive these days. But honesty without compassion doesn't sound like wisdom. It sounds like criticism. And most people, especially younger ones, won't tell you they're hurt. They'll just stop coming around. They love you. But they also want to protect themselves from words that sting. This doesn't mean you have to tiptoe around everyone. It doesn't mean you can't share your views. But it does mean asking yourself two simple questions before speaking. Is this helpful? And is this kind? If the answer to either is no, it might be worth rephrasing or choosing silence. Because when your words are thoughtful and warm, people listen. They open up. They seek your advice because they know it comes from care, not control. You become someone they want to be around, not someone they feel they need to brace for. Remember this, being honest is valuable, but being kind is unforgettable. And the more you combine those two, honesty and kindness, the more powerful your words become. Speak not to impress, speak to connect. That's the kind of speech that carries dignity, influence, and deep respect at any age. There's comfort in routine, wearing your favorite shirt, those familiar pants, the cozy sweater you've had for years. But sometimes what once was comfortable starts to send the wrong message. It might be clothes that are too tight now or too loose. Shirts with stretched collars, pants that sag or bunch awkwardly, shoes that have long lost their shape. You may not even notice, but others do. This is not about fashion, it's about presence. When your clothes no longer fit your body or your time in life, it can quietly tell others that you've stopped noticing yourself, that maybe, just maybe, you've started to fade into the background. People might not say anything, they won't comment directly, but something subtle shifts in how they look at you, how they engage. Because appearance, whether we like it or not, is the first message we send in every room we enter. Well-fitting, clean clothes don't need to be trendy or expensive. They just need to show that you still care, that you still take pride in how you show up. And when others see that, they respond with respect, not because of what you're wearing, but because of what your appearance says about your attitude toward yourself. Think of it like this. You wouldn't wear a 30-year-old suit to an important meeting. Why? Because it no longer reflects who you are today. The same principle applies to everyday life. Your wardrobe should evolve with you. Not out of vanity, but out of dignity, out of a quiet statement that says, I still see myself as someone worth showing up for. Even a small upgrade, a shirt that fits just right, a pair of shoes that offer comfort and confidence, can shift how people engage with you. It's not about age, it's about awareness. And dressing with self-respect is one of the simplest ways to say, I'm still here, I'm still active, and I still care. That message matters, and it starts with what you choose to put on each day. When you've lived through decades of experience, it's natural to feel that you have something valuable to share. You've seen things, solved problems, and made decisions that younger people haven't yet faced. But sometimes, in the effort to help, teach, or guide, we forget to pause. You might catch yourself jumping into a conversation with a story of your own, or offering advice before someone has even finished their sentence. Maybe you notice that others don't talk as much when you're around, or they keep things short. At first you might think they're just distracted, but often they're trying not to be overrun. Dominating conversations is rarely intentional. It often comes from a place of love, of wanting to be useful, or simply feeling like your voice should still matter. And it should, but so should theirs. When others feel talked over or constantly corrected, they begin to hold back. They stop sharing freely, not because they don't value your experience, but because they're unsure there's space for their own, and that's where connection starts to fade. The beauty of age is not only in what you know, but in your ability to create space for others. A well-placed pause, a genuine question, a moment of quiet listening. These are powerful tools that show wisdom beyond words. Next time you're in a conversation, notice, are you truly listening or are you waiting to speak? Do others have room to finish their thoughts or do you fill every gap with your own? You don't need to talk more to be respected. Often, the opposite is true. The less you try to control the conversation, the more people will want to hear what you have to say. Listening is not silence, it's presence. And when you allow others to be seen, they begin to see you in a new light, not just as someone with stories, but as someone they trust, admire, and feel safe opening up to. That is how real connection is built, not by leading every word, but by making space for others to walk beside you. It often starts with a sigh or a passing comment. Kids these days don't know how to work. Back in my day, we had respect. You might think it's just harmless talk, sharing how the world used to be, expressing a little frustration, but what sounds like casual opinion to you can land as rejection to someone younger, and the impact is greater than you might imagine. Every generation looks at the next with some level of confusion. That's natural. The world changes fast. Technology, values, language, even the way people form relationships. It all shifts, but when your words consistently compare the past to the present with negativity, others begin to feel dismissed, not just their habits, but who they are. They stop sharing their struggles, their dreams, their opinions. They stick to safe topics. The conversation becomes shallow, and without depth, relationships quietly begin to weaken. You might notice it when your grandchild no longer visits as often, or when your children keep their answers short. What's really happening is this. They are protecting themselves from criticism, even if that criticism comes wrapped in stories or jokes. This doesn't mean you have to agree with everything the younger generation does. You don't need to love every trend or new idea, but curiosity is always more powerful than complaint. Instead of saying, they have it easy, ask, what's it like trying to grow up in this world today? Instead of saying, they don't work hard, ask, what motivates you right now? You may be surprised at the conversations that follow. Respect flows both ways, and when young people feel respected by you, they open up. They invite you in, not out of duty, but out of choice. The goal is not to prove that your time was better. The goal is to build bridges between generations, with empathy, with humility, and with the understanding that every era has its challenges. The past made you strong. The present can make you wise. And how you speak about the future will determine how deeply you stay connected to those living in it. There was a time when no one blinked if you spoke loudly in public, stood a little too close in line, or played a video on your phone without headphones. But that time has changed. And while the world may feel more sensitive now, the truth is awareness of personal space and noise has simply become part of everyday respect. Modern etiquette is not about being trendy. It's about being considerate. Imagine sitting in a waiting room and someone is watching a video at full volume, or someone is standing in the middle of a narrow aisle, completely unaware of others trying to pass. These small behaviors, while unintentional, can create discomfort, especially in younger generations who are used to more structured social boundaries. As we grow older, it's easy to stop noticing these shifts. We've built our habits over decades, but the environment around us evolves, and staying connected to it shows not only respect for others, it shows that we are still present, still engaged, still paying attention. When these small social cues are ignored, people may not say anything, they won't confront you, but they will move away. They will avoid sitting nearby. They may silently categorize you as out of touch, even if your intentions were never unkind. The solution is simple. Notice what others are doing. If most people are speaking softly, lower your voice. If everyone in line is keeping a polite distance, take a small step back. Use headphones in public. Don't play videos on speaker. Make room for others when walking or shopping. These aren't rules meant to restrict you. They are opportunities to show that you still value your place in shared spaces. People admire someone who adapts, someone who notices, someone who moves with quiet awareness. And when they see that you care about how you affect others, They begin to care more about how they treat you in return. Courtesy never goes out of style. It just changes shape, and by honoring the shape it takes today, you continue to move through the world with grace and the kind of dignity that never fades. Everyone understands that aging comes with health challenges, a few aches, some new medications, doctor visits that become more frequent than they used to be. It's natural, and you have every right to talk about it, but when health becomes the only topic, the heart of the conversation starts to shrink. What begins as an update, my back's been acting up again, or the doctor changed my pills, well, it can quietly become a habit. Before you know it, every chat revolves around symptoms, side effects, or procedures. And those listening, especially family and friends, may start to feel overwhelmed. They won't say anything, of course. They care about you. They want to be supportive. But deep down, they miss the parts of you that talked about more than illness, the parts that told funny stories, asked them questions, or shared memories instead of diagnoses. When every conversation sounds like a medical report, people begin to pull back, not out of disrespect, but because they feel helpless. They don't know how to respond or how to change the subject without seeming insensitive, so instead they talk less or visit less, and connection quietly fades. This doesn't mean you need to keep everything to yourself. You deserve empathy. You deserve support, but balance matters. Instead of listing every pain, ask your grandchild about school. Instead of describing every pill, share a memory from your youth. Talk about something you saw on a walk or a recipe you're excited to try. Your health is part of your life, but it isn't the whole story. Let people see that you're still curious, still engaged, still full of life. Even if the body has changed, you are not your symptoms. You are a person with humor, perspective, and wisdom. And when you focus on what lifts the room, not what weighs it down, you become someone people want to be around, not out of duty, but out of joy. That's the kind of presence that heals more than any medicine ever could. As we age, we become rooted in what we've lived through. Our values, our rules, our sense of what is right and what is wrong, these beliefs were often shaped by hard-earned experiences, so it's only natural to hold them close. But there's a difference between wisdom and rigidity, and sometimes, without noticing, we begin to cross that line. You might find yourself saying, "That's just how it is," or "I don't care what people say, I know the truth." Over time, this way of thinking can build walls, not to protect, but to separate. The more we insist that our way is the only way, the more people, especially younger ones, stop trying to reach us. They'll stay quiet in conversation, avoid certain topics, nod politely but disconnect emotionally, not because they disagree, but because they sense there's no room for dialogue, only conclusions. You may not realize how deeply that affects your relationships. Being open-minded doesn't mean giving up your values. It means being willing to listen, to ask questions, to consider that the world has changed and that people experience life differently now. You don't have to agree, but you do have to allow space for others to be who they are. Oh, thus not who you think they should be. And here's the truth that many people never say aloud. The most respected elders aren't the ones who preach. They're the ones who reflect, who say, "I never thought of it that way. Tell me more," who are willing to be surprised even late in life. That kind of humility is rare and powerful. When you soften your stance just a little, when you trade stubbornness for curiosity, people lean in. They feel safe. They trust you. Not because you agree with everything they say, but because they know you're listening. In a world that's constantly shifting, the ability to adapt, not just physically but emotionally and mentally, becomes a quiet kind of strength. And those who master it leave behind not just memories, but true legacy. Slowing down with age is natural. Your steps may be more careful, your balance more deliberate, and your pace more relaxed. There's nothing wrong with that. But what often slips unnoticed is how that slower pace affects the space around you. Maybe you've paused in the middle of a grocery aisle to check your list, or walked down a hallway side by side with a friend, gently drifting across the whole path. You're not doing anything wrong. But others trying to pass may feel blocked or frustrated, and even though no one says a word, the discomfort builds. It's not about rushing, it's about awareness. When we forget to check our surroundings, listen, to step aside when needed, to move a little more to the right, or to notice the flow of people, we send a message we don't intend. The message is, "My needs come first," and that's not the impression most elders want to give. The result is subtle, but it's real. People might hesitate to shop with you. Or they may choose a different route to avoid feeling slowed down. Again, not out of disrespect, but because navigating shared space becomes quietly exhausting. Being mindful of how you move is one of the most graceful ways to show others that you are still present, still tuned in to the world around you. You don't have to rush, just notice. Step aside when you pause. Keep your cart to one side. If you're walking slowly in a group, let others pass with ease. These gestures may seem small, but they send a clear signal. I see you, I care about how I affect others. And that awareness changes everything. It reminds people that you are thoughtful, that you are not simply moving through life in your own bubble, but remaining connected to the rhythm of the community around you. When others see that, they respond with patience, with respect, and with a kind of admiration that doesn't need to be spoken. It's simply felt. Presence is not just about being somewhere, it's about how you move within it. As we grow older, our pace naturally changes. We walk slower, we pause more often, we become more careful with our steps. These adjustments are normal and wise, but sometimes they come with an unintended side effect, a loss of spatial awareness. You may find yourself standing in the middle of an aisle, cart turned sideways, unintentionally blocking others. Or perhaps you stop suddenly in a busy walkway, or walk in a group that slowly drifts across the entire path. You're not doing it out of rudeness. You're simply focused on your task. But to others, especially in shared public spaces, it can feel inconsiderate, and the reactions, though silent, are real. People step around you with forced patience. They glance your way and look away. They may begin to avoid shopping with you or walking beside you, not because they don't care, but because it feels difficult. The challenge here isn't your speed, it's your awareness. You can move as slowly as you need to. You can pause, rest, take your time. But doing it with mindfulness, keeping to one side, noticing others trying to pass, gently adjusting when needed, shows thoughtfulness. It tells the world, I may move differently now, but I still respect the space we all share. And that kind of awareness builds admiration. It's a quiet grace, the kind that doesn't need attention. You may not hear compliments or thanks, but people feel it. They sense your presence as kind, not disruptive, steady, not self-absorbed. Modern life moves fast. And while you don't need to rush, staying tuned into your surroundings helps you stay part of the rhythm rather than drifting apart from it. The goal is not perfection, it's presence. And when you show that you're still paying attention, still aware of how your movement affects others, you continue to carry yourself with the dignity and grace that define true aging well. A good sense of humor is one of the most beautiful gifts to carry into old age. It lightens the mood, softens stress, and brings people together, but not all humor ages well. And sometimes jokes that once drew laughter now bring silence or discomfort. Maybe it's a comment about someone's appearance, a stereotype from decades ago, or a sarcastic remark about something modern you don't understand. You might follow it with, "Come on, I'm just teasing," or "People are too sensitive these days." But even if your intention is harmless, the impact might not be. Younger people especially live in a world where kindness, inclusion, and emotional awareness matter deeply. What used to pass as a joke now carries weight. And if humor feels like it's at someone else's expense, even playfully, people pull away. They won't tell you it bothered them. They'll just stop being open. They'll laugh politely, then drift away emotionally. This doesn't mean you need to stop joking. Far from it. It means updating your humor the same way you update your clothes or your phone. Let it grow with the times. The best kind of humor in older age is gentle, warm, often self-deprecating. It shows you're not stuck in the past, that you can laugh at life and at yourself without hurting anyone around you. Humor is connection. It tells people you're still present, still engaged, still willing to meet them where they are. But it only works when it feels safe, when it builds closeness instead of creating distance. So ask yourself before making a joke, is this going to lift the room or deflate it? Is it kind? Is it clever? Or is it just a habit from a time that's passed? When your humor feels thoughtful, people relax around you. They enjoy your company, they laugh with you, not just out of politeness, but out of true joy. That kind of laughter is a gift. And the older you get, the more powerful it becomes. Getting older does bring limitations. Tasks that were once simple may now require more effort, time, or help. Asking for support is not a weakness, it's a strength. But there's a fine line between genuinely needing help and habitually asking for it, even when you don't. You might catch yourself saying, "Can you just do it for me?" or I don't want to mess it up. But maybe you stop trying new technology because it seems too complicated, or you hand over small tasks because you assume someone younger will do it faster. It feels harmless, maybe even efficient, but over time, this quiet surrender can begin to erode your independence and your relationships. Family members may start feeling more like caregivers than companions. Friends may sense that they're always the ones doing the lifting, reaching, or figuring things out. And though they might smile and say it's no trouble, that eventually that smile begins to wear thin. But the biggest loss isn't theirs, it's yours. Because every time you hand off a task you could still do, you give away a piece of your confidence, a small part of your strength. And with enough repetition, you start believing you truly can't, even when you can. This doesn't mean you should struggle silently. Ask for help when it's needed, but also challenge yourself to stay engaged, to learn, to try, to stretch just a little beyond what feels easy. Your family doesn't expect perfection. What they respect is effort. They light up when they see you trying. They admire your willingness to stay active, to learn something new, to keep participating in the world. So, next time you're tempted to say you do it, pause. Ask yourself, can I try this first? Whether it's following a recipe, using a remote, or carrying a small bag, reclaim those little actions. They may seem minor, but they build momentum, and that momentum becomes strength. Not just physical, but emotional. Because every time you say, I've got this, you're telling the world and yourself that you're still capable, still engaged, and still in charge of your own life. With age often comes wisdom, and with wisdom a strong sense of knowing. After decades of making decisions, solving problems, and learning from life, it can feel natural to believe you know best. But sometimes, without realizing it, that belief becomes rigid. Instead of sharing insight, it becomes a need to be right. Maybe it's correcting small details in someone's story, insisting your way of doing things is the only way that makes sense. Dismissing new ideas with a quick, "Trust me, I've seen it all." It may feel harmless, you're just sharing what you've learned. But to others, especially younger people, it can feel exhausting. Over time, people stop engaging. They don't argue, they go quiet. Not because you won the discussion, but because it's easier to stay silent than to speak up. And slowly the conversation narrows, the relationship thins. What once was connection becomes tolerance. This isn't arrogance, often it's fear. Fear of becoming irrelevant, fear of being left behind, fear that letting go of your way means letting go of your value. But the truth is, your value doesn't come from always being right. It comes from how you make others feel. People admire those who offer perspective, but also leave space, who say, here's what worked for me, but I'm curious about your view. That kind of humility is magnetic. It draws people in. It makes your wisdom feel like an invitation, not a wall. And ironically, the more willing you are to say, I never thought of it that way, the more your voice will matter. The more others will come to you, not because they have to, but because they want to, because your presence feels safe, open, and real. Being right fades quickly. Being kind lasts. And when you choose connection over correction, you leave a legacy that speaks louder than any argument ever could. As we reach this final part, take a moment to pause, not with judgment, but with compassion for yourself. These habits we've explored are not signs of failure. They're not proof that you're doing something wrong. They're simply reflections of how life evolves, how patterns settle in over time, and how easy it is to stop noticing the small ways we affect those around us. But here's the powerful truth. Every one of these habits is changeable. You don't need a big transformation. You don't need to become someone else. You just need small shifts in awareness, a moment of reflection before speaking, a fresh shirt that fits well, a step to the side in a crowded space, a curious question instead of a quick judgment. These may seem minor, but they carry great weight. They tell your family, your friends, even strangers in line at the store, I'm still here, I still care how I show up, I still want to connect. That message resonates because people long to feel respected, heard, comfortable in your presence, and when you carry yourself with dignity, thoughtfulness, and grace, they respond with love, with admiration, with trust. Growing older isn't about fading into the background, it's about stepping forward with deeper clarity, not louder, but wiser, not with control, but with calm influence, the kind that says, I may be older, but I'm still learning, I'm still becoming. And that is a powerful thing. If one or two of these habits spoke to you, if you recognized yourself in a sentence, a moment, a memory, That's not something to hide. It's something to celebrate, because awareness is the first step toward real change. You still have time to reconnect, to restore, to shine in the way only someone with your years and your insight can. Let this be your reminder that it's never too late to grow. And when you do, quietly, gently, you don't just improve your own life, you uplift everyone around you. Thank you for staying with us through this journey. You are seen, you are valued, and you're capable of extraordinary grace, starting right now.